Hey there guys, and welcome back to a brand new Hytale video, as we have a lot of news to go through today, because not only did we get the pre-release patch notes for update 4 part 2, but also we have a little bit of information from Simon on the current kind of state of the game, in the sense of when we're going to be getting the chapters, you know, like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and then into full release. I think it's going to be a long way away, to be honest, and I kind of understand it from Simon. I understand it from a player's perspective, but at the end of the day, Hytale, like you guys know, Hytale is the kind of the long road. You know, it's not just a quick rushing out of content and things like that. It's working towards something very big over the next few years, and that's what I like. So today we're going to go through everything. We will go through the update pre-release notes at the end. I want to show you guys bits of information first, especially a little bit of a talk on chapter 1. So if you enjoy the video, drop a like, subscribe, and let's get in with it. So the game is going to work in chapters throughout early access, and after early access and we go into full release, it's going to work differently. But if you didn't see the news, they said beyond regular updates, we're building chapters, larger content drops that unfold the Cursebreaker arc in exploration mode. We won't spoil the story, but here's the shape of it. The Cursebreaker arc is how Hytale progresses through early access, chapter by chapter, until the final chapter puts Orbis within reach and we step into full release. So that's kind of going to be what it is, you know, throughout 2026. I expect, you know, I mean, I don't know whether all 4 chapters are going to be released within 2026 and then they go into full release in 2027. We don't really know the time frame on it, but what was said is this person said peak, but we actually need an endgame. Where's the chapter 1 release? And Simon said, revisiting the core game loop at the moment. I don't want to rush things with endgames as chapters just yet. Production is speeding up, and you will see us move very fast when the core is solid. And I think that's very fair at the end of the day. Like, you know, this person said, fair enough, keep cooking, and that's kind of where we are at the moment, you know. Like Hytale, of course, you know, it's in Simon's, you know, Simon would dream of having 2 million players that can currently play the game all the time. But at the end of the day, that's just not how most games work, and especially if you're releasing a game in early access. Like, Hytale is going to be constantly developed, it's going to be constantly worked on for 12 years. And the whole process of it is, yes, there will be people that stop playing the game. I ask you guys that question, like, what are you doing right now? What games are you playing? Are you still playing Hytale? And that, and some people just say to me, I'm not at the moment, I'm waiting for like the next kind of patch to bring me back to the game with some new content, but I still like to keep up with the news. And that, you know, and that is one of the things that some people do, and whether, because people play games in their own way, right? And chapter 1 will be coming this year at some point, but they want to get the game, the core game, solid. And basically that, you know, that comes down to the tiniest details, like we mentioned about infinite water, all of that kind of stuff. And I think they're doing it in the right way. They don't want to rush out content. There's many studios out there that want the, you know, instead of looking at working on and fixing the actual core elements of the game, it's kind of a cycle of, we need to get these new content drops out for more sales. The good thing about Mr. Simon Hypixel himself is he's a very rich man. As he's mentioned many times, he made his fortune off his Minecraft servers, and that means that, you know, when it comes down to releases and content and stuff, it's not all about a quick money grab and a DLC release. It's about actually working on the game, and I think that's why, you know, it's such a special community to be in. So here's the headline features. So they added an emote wheel, which I covered in my last video. Express yourself in-game by holding down the X key. This key binding can be changed in the settings menu. Added a new creative tool, Revolve. This new tool allows you to pace rotations of your current selection any number of times or fully around a center point. They overhauled the /replace command. They moved swap and rejects from flags and subcommands, allowing each variant to use arguments without conflicts. They added block mask support to the from argument, enabling spatial mask syntax like block or exclamation block. Added additional validation. Black and white wolves will now fight as a pack, attempting to flank their prey and attempting to retreat when injured. That's pretty cool. Implemented dual source blending with a center source to improve audio experience with headphone stereo setting, and positional audio should now feel less in one ear. As for the avatar and cosmetics, their player avatar will now face the camera when using free camera or third-person camera modes. The player avatar, will now animate differently when falling from a great height, and added the chicken, kill, laugh, punch, and tongue emotes. And they also added the ability for some emotes to loop. As for the items and equipment, there's numerous changes to how the watering can functions. They now have a template parent and have configurable width and depth for area of affecting watering. They now can be charged to water to a 3x3 area. Their capacity has increased from 20 to 50, that's pretty big. They can be placed on the ground when crouching, returning empty watering cans if broken. They now water exclusively with secondary interaction key with consistency with the hoe. The builder's workbench has had its crafting time reduced from 2 seconds to instant. The campfire, crude bedroll, wooden chest have had their crafting time reduced from 1 second to instant. The crude torch has had its crafting time reduced from 0.5 seconds to instant. The seaweed middle is now referred to stacked seaweed. Red cobble blocks are now referred to red sandstone cobble blocks. White cobble blocks are now white sandstone cobble blocks. The previews for crude bed and crude repair kits and iron repair kits have been updated, and the entity stat magic charges has been hidden from the items tooltip. As for world and blocks, they've improved the handling of extreme coordinates, reworked item containers to block components, reducing lag and preventing issues with chests when unloading. Workbenches will now continue processing items even if their chunks are unloaded. Workbenches will now resume processing items if their full output slot is emptied. Workbenches will now use the world game for their calculations instead of real time. Workbench assets are now configured to have a bench block component rather than an exist with a crafting state. Now, NPC and encounters, they reduced the number of checks required to be performed whether an NPC was able to breathe, and the squirrel can now lay eggs. For audio and restoring memories, it now plays sound effects. Zone 1 mountain ambience will now differ based on player's altitude, and placeholder music and ambience has been added to Zone 4 caves and sewers. As for UI and quality of life, they've implemented support for CGK fonts, added localization support for the machinima tool. Personal, shared, and player markers will now always be visible on the map. The backpack in player inventory now shows how many item slots are being used. Moved the Gnosis UI folder from the game to the shared, and moved the font folder into the Gnosis UI project folder UI. Modding and tools. There seems to be a lot with this update. So error messaging has been added to the /copy command for when too many blocks are selected. They added the /pedit back command to quickly alternate to and from the prefab editor world. Empty brush and tool edits no longer get registered to the tool history or trigger notifications. The deselect command will now be registered to the tool history. Fluid changes now contribute towards the block count when saving creative tool edits to history. The laser pointer tool may now be used to direct others' attention towards the sky. The selection tool will now allow you to select a region without holding down the left mouse button. Updated the selection tool's rotation gizmo to make rotating selections more intuitive. Updated the size scaling and made it easier to select various creative tool gizmos. The Mac speed command will now only target the active actor. They added the time of day and weather to the creative mode quick settings menu that will adjust the environment for client only. Added a reset environment button to the creative mode quick settings menu that resyncs the client and server environmental settings. They added player removed from world event that allows plugin developers to create customizable optional messages that can be broadcasted when someone leaves the world. Added spawn settings to the portal type asset, including spawn provider override, allowing developers to specify where a portal is placed. Started work to move the server to the GOML math library. You can now use any unique substring of command argument to access that command argument. For instance, if there are only arguments cat and dog at will return to the former. Players can now select which mod folder to create their asset pack in. They've added the HUD UI support, allowing for custom UIs to be created for all items. They've significantly improved the performance of the Creative Tools Preview's accessibility and implemented support for Windows Click Lock feature. As for bug fixes, they have combat and item fixes, so wheat is no longer edible. Stacked seaweed can no longer be eaten to cause a missing interaction error. Placed cane ornaments are no longer unbreakable, and ammo is no longer consumed in creative mode. That's pretty... Those little changes are nice, right? World and block fixes. So all half blocks should now stack correctly on the drop and drop the correct number of items when broken. Fixed tamed chickens not being recognized by chicken coops. They will now lay eggs in them, just like their untamed counterparts. Fixed an MPE that can occur when a crafting bench is broken whilst in use. Mount will no longer be able to sprint indefinitely in fluids. NPCs will no longer follow items at an infinite range. Gravel blocks made up of 2 vertical gravel slabs will no longer unexpectedly break if adjacent blocks are broken. Player avatars will now enter minecarts instead of minecarts teleporting under the player. Fixed a bug where some encounters did not properly inherit the weather of surrounding areas. Chunks will now correctly generate cave networks within Zone 4. Lava will now correctly burn entities as entity effects no longer incorrectly overwrites themselves. Portal devices will now refund fragments if the portal world fails to generate. Decayed tilled soil will now update correctly once it is fully decayed. As for creative tool modding and plugin fixes, they fixed a crash that could occur when attempting to use creative tools with invalid or missing data. They fixed a bug causing players to die in the crossroads if a player exited out of the prefab editor. They fixed a bug with the prefab editor menus causing players to sometimes be teleported to the wrong location. They fixed a bug causing prefab anchors to incorrectly despawn. Players can no longer find themselves rotated and translated with the selection tool. They fixed the interpolation issues with the brush tool on the axis plane. The selection tool's selection box will now remain stationary when it's rotating its content. The selection tool's rotation gizmo position will now correctly reset to the center after undoing an action. Fixed a bug where incorrect blocks would appear when rotating or translating fluids. Fixed a bug with single player worlds and image importing permissions. Fixed a bug preventing the max speed command from applying the whole scene. And fixed a bug preventing NPCs scaling with the entity tool. Now, as for UI and display fixes, they fixed a crash that could occur with nameless map markers, fixed a crash that can occur with entity UI elements. The player backpack is now hidden in creative mode. They fixed various issues with localized text extending outside of the default UI. Fixed plural localization for mod and asset packs that failed to load or are outdated. Fixed map markers sometimes not appearing on the compass. Cleared first-person animations when mounting NPCs. Fix an issue where certain inputs could result in item stacks being dropped from the inventory rather than single items. Fix an issue with the utility item wheel being offset when dragging and dropping stacks with the wheel. And fix an issue where player marker toggle settings didn't persist across sessions. And then a very, very, very big update from Simon below saying part 3 will be interesting next week. And what does this even mean? What is that? Sound off, sound on? I mean, yeah, interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that means. I'm guessing it's something to do with voice chat, right? Something, I don't know. But then this person said, fantastic update, been playing with it since it dropped, kind of wish the patch notes dropped a little sooner. While it is really awesome, some content creators could share it first. I really want to get into it immediately without waiting. Still absolutely fantastic though. I don't want the whole content creator thing early. As a content creator myself, I've never liked that. Look, if someone came to me and said, hey Dom, we want to share this with you early, I'll do it. You know, I will do it. But I think it's better that companies don't. I think everyone gets it at the same time, makes it more exciting. You know, I don't like the preview stuff. If they want to preview stuff, the company should preview the stuff first early, not the content creators. Maybe some content creators will disagree with me, but I personally think it's always better to let content creators and players just get it at the same time, you know, and then the content. I do understand why companies do it, but yeah, I just find it a bit. But that's Simon said that's on me. I've been very busy since yesterday and couldn't find any time to do the copy and paste version in X in time. That being said, I spent some time writing a simple script, so next time it's going to be much faster. Anyway, guys, that is the full video, and I hope you guys did enjoy. We've got a lot on, we've got a lot coming up with the game, but it's all about being patient, waiting on, getting the core game in the right way. A lot of you guys did say to me, Dom, like, are you carrying on doing the Hytale news because you did some Minecraft videos recently? And yes, of course I am. Like, that's never going to change. That's always going to be a thing. It's just that the channel as a whole when things are quiet on a game, it's always nice to dive into some other bits, and, you know, this whole channel is going to be block genre. Hytale obviously being one of the biggest games always kind of on the channel. You might see some Minecraft, and you're going to see some other really cool, you know, block games that are coming out, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be able to expand and give you guys the channel where you've got all the block genre you've ever wanted. So thank you very much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.